Hello everybody, how you doing? It's wee Paddy from across the shop and I'm going to do a wee sharpening video this morning. Now, this is going to be long. My advice to you is when I'm doing the actual sharpening, you've seen the start of it, fast forward to the end of that initial bit of sharpening, see the results and then move on again. Otherwise this will go on for ages. This is my little dog who is a nightmare, who doesn't like not being in my lap. Stop. So, he's going to jump in, I'm sorry. What I'm going to do this morning is I'm going to sharpen this beautiful knife, which is a Native 5 Salt series. I've already dyed the handle, this beautiful, it's like a maroon colour in real life. And it's got Lc200 blade steel. Now, I know what Lc200 is like because I have a Spidey chef. So I know it's a good steel. But what I wanted to show was sharpening. I have just been given, these are Venev diamond stones. They're double-sided. They're on the expensive range. They're not very expensive. They're sort of middle of the range for good sharpening stones. I have been using, and you've seen videos, I use their bigger version of the stones. This is the flat stone when I'm doing it on a desk and I just want to do a really good job that is not professional, because I'm not a professional sharpener, I'm a complete amateur. But this was when I want to technically get really nice bevels that are smooth. But as you know, I get down to the caravan and I wanted smaller stones that don't weigh as heavy, but I could take down this caravan and just sharpen in my hand, which I really do like doing. I'm not the best sharpener in the world, but I can get a knife to cut. This is the Spidey Chef's edge as it comes. Really good edge. It's a really sharp knife. Lc200 takes a great edge. You don't have to be a great sharpener. If you've got a Lansky system or something like that, you can get a screaming edge in this. What I'm showing you is hand sharpening. For me, this is the most relaxing form, especially when you're just doing it in your hand. You don't have to set out all the stones and put it on, put them in blocks and get it all level. This is just for getting a knife sharp. This bevel on the end of this might not be the best in the world. I'm going to show you it before I start and I'll show you it when I'm finished. It might not be the best in the world, but this knife will cut well. That's all I'm interested in. So at the end, I know there's going to be a lot of you professional sharpeners out there, because Lord knows there's a lot of you. Don't be looking for perfection. This is just to show anybody that with a little bit of practice, you can get another form of this art, of this collecting knives. This is just another part of it. And to me, it's the most relaxing. So, here's where I should have done my research. On my big stones, it tells me exactly what the stones are. On this one, when I looked at it just there now, it's got 7.5 this end and 3.2 on this end. Now this is the smoothest one. What their numbers stand for, I've no idea. I just know that the 7's higher than the 3, so the 3 will be the smoothest one. And I know that on my big stones, the smoothest side is always the red side. So there's my knowledge. So I will be starting on the roughest diamond one, which is it's 80-100 or 125-160. So I'll start on the rough side, which is 160. No idea what that is in those great numbers in the sky. So I've got 3 stones. I'm going to use them all. I probably wouldn't need to use this one. I wouldn't need to use this one because the knife isn't that bad. It doesn't need reprofiled. I'm just doing it for the sake of a sharpening video. So I'm going to start on the coarsest and work through to the smoothest, and we'll see what sort of an edge we get at the end. So before I start, I'm going to bring this up and I'm going to show you the bevel on the knife. There we go. It's a pretty even bevel all the way up from Spyderco. It's a little bit wavier up at the top there, but that's fine. That, to me, this is going to be a work knife, as in take out and use to carve, to do whatever with down at the beach. So I don't need perfection. I just need a knife. Now, is this shiny? Let me just show you. you know, it's not bad at all. It's a pretty good knife, pretty shiny, but it's not gleaming. Now, with that said, all I need is my stones. I have a strop sitting here. I have a little bit of water because these do need, like splash and go stones. You just put a bit of water on the surface to help it glide. Now, my Handy Hands mug, by the way, which has water in it, my cup of tea. So, what I've got a 600 grit diamond stone here, and I'm going to, lots of people hate this part, including me. So, what I'm going to do is let you see what I've done to my lovely knife. So you can see I cannot get from the edge to the back, I can't get that to cut. So it's blunt. So let's get started. And to get started, what I'm going to do actually before I get started, I'm going to run the knife this way and this way, because I don't want to feel any wee burr on the side, which is not the burr that I have caused. So to get started with these stones, these are Venev diamond stones, I'm sure I did say that. But I raved about the big ones, and I still rave about them. They don't dish. I can't get them to dish, and I've used the life out of them, and they are absolutely brilliant. Again, even the bigger ones, they're about medium range, inexpensive stones, if that makes any sense to somebody. So medium range, and the prices change all the time, they vary. I'm not going to give prices out. If you want Venev stones, go and look them up. I'll give you they're a Russian company, and they make the TS Prof, the fixed blade thing. I've only just found out. I am so unknowledgeable. But these, the big stones, I highly recommend. I'll let you know what I think of these when we've done this knife, because I have not used these. So I'm going to use the 160 grit, whatever that is. And then, so we'll get a little bit of, and that's all I do to it, is just a little bit of damp water on it, and that's it. Keep a wee cloth on my lap here, and I'm just going to go ahead, and after each side I'll show you what the blade looks like. So what I do is I set my knife down flat on it, and then lift it up till I see it actually touching the surface, and then I just bring it across it. No weight at all. So I bring it up. Now, new stones are always much coarser because you haven't removed any of the diamond. So you can hear that. I'll bring it up and let you hear it. So you can hear that. So they're coarse, but that's all right. The new stones. This isn't going to be a show knife. This is a work knife, so I'm not that worried. Sometimes I would use a couple of older knives, sharpen them just to get that initial coarseness off. But this does seem to be a very coarse. So I've just started it. So what I'm going to do is just do one side until I get a burr. And you can move this up and down any way you want. And what I'm doing now is I'm going to bring the burr from this side up onto the top. And again, just do it whichever way suits you. I have an angle that I sort of keep to, and it's muscle memory. And once you get your little angle, you'll know exactly when you've got it. I don't think Lc200 is, it lasts a fairly long while. It's not, what's it, I would nearly equate it to sharpening so far. S35VN, it's about that sort of sharpening hardness. I don't find, to be honest with you, when I'm hand sharpening, I know people don't like M390s and all that, they say they're hard to sharpen. I think that's more people who maybe don't sharpen a whole lot. Because I don't find M390 particularly difficult to get sharpened. Now, whether I'm just lucky or not, I don't know. My goodness. Now, all but the back of that has got a burr on it already. So, when you're hand sharpening, you usually find back or front, you'll always have a little. So what I do is I just set it down here. I set my finger on this, and that's all I'm doing. I'm just setting the finger on it. I'm not putting any extra pressure. But it's that wee bit there that I just want to make sure I've got the burr. And if you haven't got the burr, don't move on. There we are. No, still needs another wee bit there. You want that burr the whole way up that knife. And do not move on until you get the burr. Now, I'm literally not exerting any pressure. There we go. So, I'm going to bring this up. Hopefully you'll hear it. I've got a burr all the way up that knife. And that's all you're trying to do. You've seen this. This is a new knife. It was blunt. That's the burr, Lc200. It's a medium grade steel for sharpening, in my eyes. So, all I'm going to do is maybe replenish the water a wee bit. I'm going to turn my knife over, and I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side. I'll get my angle, and you can slide it back if you want. On these coarse stones, I should say, I just keep it. I just keep my little angle that I use. And look, the only way to do this is do it. You can't sit and watch all the time and then all of a sudden pick it up and do it in your first attempt. It just doesn't work like that. It's practice. You see people doing it all sorts of ways. So, let me just see. That is such a coarse stone. And this is the thing with diamonds. Again, it's just that wee bottom bit that I haven't got. When you're buying good stones, the coarse stones are really coarse. And when you're hand sharpening, the feel, you don't have to go long. I see people going for ever and ever and ever. I don't have to. I've never found that. If you've got good stones, you don't need to. You don't need to exert pressure. So all I'm going to do is, again, I just want the wee bit of pressure at the bottom, not pressure, just the weight of my thumb. And I just want to see if I've got, again, there we go. So I have a burr all the way up that knife already. That takes no time at all. I know this video's gone on, but it doesn't take any time at all. So what I do now is I just go to this side and I try to take that burr off. And with Lc200, unlike some of the tougher steels like this is easy to take a burr off. Lc200 seems to take the burr off quite easy. You don't have to work too hard. But then again, I don't make a huge burr. I just get it turned over. So what I've done is I've taken most of that burr off at my sharpening angle, and then I'm going to just gradually do this to smooth it down. And I'm not trying to do anything genius. All I'm trying to do is get the knife that there's no burr there. So when I move on to the next side of the stone, I'm starting at a level playing field again. So you can move the burr back and forward if you want. But if you're going to use all the stones like I'm doing here, absolutely no need. No need whatsoever. Most of the times I'll start with the middle stone. This is a polishing stone, but this is a cutting stone. That's the only one. Unless you've really damaged your knife, you really don't need to use this. But I had read in forums that people who had used this thought that it was leaving really deep scratch marks. So for my own benefit, I'm just doing this to see if what they say on a forum is right. And I can tell you, most of the time it's not. So yes, go on your forums, but just find your own experience. Instead of reading all up, buy a set of stones. Buy cheap ones at first. That's all I used, was cheap stones off AliExpress to learn how to hand sharpen. And then I went on to proper stones and water stones. And so it's just something you pick up. So I would say I've gone on a bit longer there than what I normally do, to be honest. So I'll have taken the burr off it, and this is what I always do. A lot of people don't do it, but I always check between each stone, have I got it sharp? Now, is that sharp? It's not sharp, but it's cutting, and that's what you want. If you're not cutting at this coarse bit, it'll never cut. You're going to be fighting against yourself the whole time. So we'll dry that side of the stone off. Turn it over to the lesser grit, which is always the lighter colour on the Neve stones. And I'm going to put this on here. There you go. Just a bit of water on it, just to keep it smooth. And you do the process again. Now this, in the part of the video, if you're not interested in watching me doing this, by all means skip ahead until I get to the last stone and you'll see the polish. But if you want to watch, by all means do. I'll waffle on. So, what I'm going to start doing now, and again, I just... That's just more or less to take the rough stones off the top of it. So I'll start here this time. And I'm just going to do different ways of sharpening to let you see. I'm using the edge I got from the factory. I don't need to drop this down. Normally I put my edges, if I want a real fancy knife and I want it sharp, I'll take it down to about 15 to 17. Factory edge at 20 degrees, this is going to be a work knife. I don't need to take it any more than that. That's sharp enough. This blade is thin enough. It'll slice well, but it'll also let me do a bit of woodwork without worrying about chipping a blade too much. So, again, you can hear how coarse them stones are, which is a good thing, because the coarser they are, especially if you're going to do a re-profile, you want the coarse stone to get down through that metal. Already I'm going to check. Nope. And I hope everybody's alright. I hope you're obeying the laws of staying in. It is hard, it is difficult, especially when you're living with me. Ask Sally. We're doing absolutely fine. It's been a few weeks, about 2 weeks for us. First of all, we were down the caravan, but then we had to move back up home, so we got a bit of a break in the middle of it. But we've been in sort of lockdown now for 2 weeks, and with Sally just having the stroke, we don't break it at all. We shouldn't break it anyway, but we don't break it at all. There it is. It just doesn't take long. Don't let these other sharpeners, not that it's not other sharp. I just see people going too long at it, especially with a diamond. You don't need it. It takes so much steel off. And I mean, this is a knife that's cost an awful lot of money. Excuse me. This is a knife that's cost an awful lot of money. You don't want to take all your steel off it by just constantly rubbing over a diamond stone. The minimum, get the smallest burr that you can feel the whole length, and then change over to the other side. I mean, that is it. Because what that's doing, I keep saying that, I'll show you in a wee minute what all you're doing when you do that. These stones, honestly, they're so good. And after a while, you might have to go a bit longer as the stone starts to wear down. But as you use these stones, they create new stones. So you're constantly getting that great edge, putting your knife with very little pressure. I show this in all my videos. So what you're doing when you're getting a burr, when you're transferring it to the other side and then you transfer it back again, you're forming that apex. So the steel comes over and the steel comes over the other way, and then you level it up and you've got that perfect apex. But until you do that and that, you'll never know if you've got your apex. And that's why you feel for the burr. That burr lets you know that you're getting your apex, you're getting over the top of it, and then you level it out to finish it off. And that gives you the sharp apex, which in turn gives you a sharp knife. Now, what was it doing this side? And that short little time has already got most of that, got a burr. See, I would normally just sit at my wee desk here and do this. I'm quite happy doing 2 or 3 knives, even sometimes, depending on what the time scale, what I've got to do. Look, you can see, I want you to see this. Can you see how much that's taking metal off? In that short space of time, that's the amount of metal. That's why you don't want to keep on going for ages and ages. You do not want your metal to be taken off your knife. Right, I'm just feeling. That's all the way down, completely all the way down. I'm just going to put a wee bit of fresh water on. I took that off there, and you can feel the metal and the burr actually on this. You can feel the little bits of filing that you're taking off. So again, I'm just doing this because I want to take away that burr. I've done my apex, so for me that's fine. And the other thing, I'm sort of showing an angle. When you've got a knife that's got a curve in it, when you come along, you start at this edge and you come along to the curve, you have to lift your wrist just a wee bit, but keep everything straight. Don't do that movement. Just lift your wrist slightly so that you're getting down to the end of the blade. You don't go straight off. It's when there's a curve, you have to lift your wrist a wee bit. And it's such a small movement that you don't really see it when I'm doing it. So that's why I'm sort of explaining it. So, and to be honest with you, if this was a posher knife, I would probably have it all taped up, but this genuinely is going to be a work knife. So I'm not, if I get a wee scratch in the blade now, I'm not going to worry about it. If I want a really true bevel, I'll use my fixed blade system because it can give me a completely consistent bevel all the way up the knife. To be honest with you, I'm not that bothered with it. I mean, I show my knives to me and family members who'll give it any time, but they really don't care. So I don't have so many safe queens as maybe a lot of people would have. So let me see if I've got the bevel or got that off. Right. Let's just see. That's the first stone done. And that's pretty consistent all the way up. And I like to just look at the bevel to see what it's like. So there we go. It's sharp. It's not very sharp because it's a real toothy edge. I mean, this is the roughest stone. So it's a real toothy edge. And I want to just take this off because it's all that wee bits of, between the diamond you've abrased off and filings, you don't want it to stay on your kit. So we'll set that over there, and then we're just going to move to the second stone. Again, this one is 50 on this side, and there's wee arrows that point up and tell you, if you can, I don't know whether you can see that. So these are engraved in, they're not going to wear off, so you're always going to know where you are. So this one's 50 up and 20 down, or 40 and 14. I have no idea what this means. I just know that's a rough, that's a smooth. So there we go. I know I should know, and I know I should have gone and found out, but do you want to know? You can make this as complicated or as easy as you like. Just go by the grits. The darker one is always the rougher side, and this is, and you just feel them. you can tell the difference. So we're on the 50 or 20, whichever that is. No idea. This is Paddy sharpening. This is not Michael Christie. He's an expert. If you want to go and see somebody sharpen, Jeff Jewell is an expert. If you want to get the technical side of it, go to them boys. Jeff Jewell is my hero. He taught me to sharpen, but I can't follow him. I'm not technical. I just get my knife sharp. But Jeff Jewell, if you want to learn, he has such an easy way with him. He shows you and explains it simply. Michael is a bit more in-depth. Jeff explains it simply. So, there we go. And I wish Jeff well, and I'm sure we're all sending him. He's just getting back from a leg injury, so he hasn't been doing many videos, but go over to his channel. He has so many. I just can't recommend Jeff higher than anybody out there. So, you can actually hear that that's nowhere near as gritty as the first one, although it's a new stone and it is sort of louder than what it will be after a couple of sharpens, but it's nowhere near as loud as the first one. So, definitely so much smoother than the... This is the one that I would use most of the time. That's a nice stone. That feels really nice. That doesn't take any time. Venev stones are genuinely, they're just unbelievably good. That's already got a full. So I'm going to turn it over now. I'm going to do the other side. Don't keep going. If you've got a burr, you've got a burr. You can make it as big as you like. You just have to wear it off again. So just as soon as you get your burr, move over to the other side. I just can't believe how good these stones are. You know, compared to the cheaper ones I used. These are the die stones, the die sharp. Is that what they're called? Yeah, die sharp. They're brilliant stones, absolutely great, and I used them for years. But you see, since I've moved to the Venev, oh, the difference is unbelievable. You see the point of a knife? It's really sharp, and I've just stuck it in my finger 2 times. And I think you'll definitely, well, I know you're going to see the difference in the cutting of the paper after this, because this, I am so impressed with this middle stone. It's a nice stone. That's unbelievable. Unbelievable. It's still leaving, when I say rough, you can still see I don't have a zoom as such on these where I can show you, but it's quite coarse on the edge. It hasn't got shiny yet. This is still quite a coarse edge on here. So what I'm going to do now is just level the bevel off. I'm going to take that burr off. And look, and I'm sure I'm doing this wrong to a lot of people, but look, this is just Paddy showing you how Paddy does it. You know, what am I doing? I'm not asking you to buy the expensive stones. This is the way I sharpen on my die sharp stones. There's no difference. The die sharp worked for me, there's no doubt about it, and I've had cheaper ones than die sharp, let me tell you. These are a little bit more expensive. But to be honest with you, they're not a lot more expensive, but they're not as, to me these are, I just feel the difference, like a professional stone and a good amateur stone. These to me would be more on that higher range, just for what they do to the knife. I mean, I have no effort. I don't have to, push. I don't have to try and do anything other than just move my blade backwards and forwards. And I know that's, again, very simplistic. Now, let's see what that's like. Again, it's getting sharper and it's getting sharper each time, and you're getting less resistant going through the stone. So I've done that side. Now we'll just wipe this off and we'll turn over to the smooth side. Again, can you see to the point? I mean, please skip on if this bores you, watching this bores you. But you can see that this is not complicated. This is not something you have to practice for days and days and days and days all of a go. Just each, once a week, get a set of stones out and just practice. Use an old knife with 8CR13 on it, 440C. 440C is a great steel to do it on because it's an average sort of steel and you can work it, and it's not hard to get sharpened, because once you get your first knife sharpened, you're hooked. Yeah, I mean, absolutely hooked. So let's start again. You can hear that, the difference. So each stone you'll hear the difference, and this is where you get you hear and you feel. Again, I'm just doing this because they're new stones, just to take that surface layer of, although you can't hear it, there will be a rough surface on it. So now, this is where it gets harder. The burr is going to get smaller the higher the grit you go up, and that makes sense because you're getting a finer burr across the top. It's not as coarse, it's not digging into the metal. So you're not looking for that big thick burr anymore. You're just looking for a little tiny wire. If you take it the top edge of your edge, it's a little wire that goes across, and that's all you're feeling for. So, I mean, don't be expecting this big lump, and don't keep going till you get a big lump. All you want is your nail to catch on it. That's how I test. What am I doing? I was feeling the wrong side. Hey, I was a sailor, you never know. My goodness. Now, you heard how smooth that was. That's a full burr. In that short space of time, a full burr. That astounds me. They're every bit as good as the big stones. It's a joy when you get it. So we'll turn the knife over, and all we're going to do is take that burr off. And now I'm hoping at the end of this that I'm going to start to see the polish starting to come on my knife. I'm trying to do it different ways because it doesn't matter what way you do it. As long as you keep that angle fairly consistent, you'll get a sharp edge. No, another wee bit. And you can actually hear, as well as feel, you can hear when the edge of the blade is cupping into the stone. There is a sound and a feeling you'll get. And then as your knife gets sharper, that feeling gets less and less, but nonetheless, it is still there. That's all the way along now. So, what I'll do is I'll take it off, and then I'm just going to smooth it out. Again, you're just refining this edge down. Some people say you shouldn't lift the stones off, and you probably shouldn't, because you have a chance of rounding off your tip. So let's feel that and see what that's like. Now, I mean, people did say in the forums that it left quite a coarse edge. That is still quite coarse, I have to say. Now, I don't know whether I'll be able to show it to you, but I'm going to give it a go. This is a new camera angle. I'm coming around behind the camera. I hope you've been able to see this all right. So, you can see I haven't wrecked the edge. The edge is fine, but it's still... Let's see. You can still see it's quite... Let me see if I can get a... What I'm trying to show you is the lines on the... Let me just... It's still quite a coarse line. Can you see that there? You can see the lines along there. They're still quite coarse, and we're on the middle stone. Now, a lot of that's probably to do with... Oh, let's get this out. But you can see the edge is starting to take a little bit of a shine. Now, if I spent longer on that middle stone... This is quite difficult. If I spent longer on the middle stone... There you are. You can see them lines. If I spent a bit longer on that middle stone, I will be able to level them out before I went on to my finer stone. But for just the length of this video, all you want to see is this knife going to get sharp. And the knife is definitely going through quieter. I mean, I think you can already hear how quiet that is. But what I might do, I might just go a little bit longer. This is just for my sake. Again, fast forward this bit if it's no interest. I just want to see if I can get it to look nicer, a bit nicer, that I can be able to show it on camera. I'm just using a cheap phone, so I don't have a camera. So I find it quite difficult to show you. All I'm trying to do is smooth them rough edges out. And I think because of what I read in the forum, it seems to be that the stones do leave quite harsh. Now, this is a brand new set of stones, so they're going to be a bit harsher than normal. Always conscious of my back end. I usually miss the back end and the front end. Now, at this stage, again, this is just your patience, how long you want to sit and do this for. I have no need to sit and do this because I can get the sharpness. It mightn't just look as pretty, but it'll be as sharp. But this is just the pleasure of getting a nice edge on it. I want a nice edge that's going to be lovely and shiny so that you'll think Paddy's a wonderful sharpener, and it's really all just bluff. So let's just see how we're doing. It's getting, you know, it is definitely getting a little bit... Oh, that was not that good. There we go. Definitely getting sharper. We're getting near that time now where it's going to start getting really sharp. So there we go. That's a second stone down. Again, fast forward. If you don't want to see it, just fast forward. You'll not offend me because I'll not know. So this is now 7.5 or 3.2. The darker of the sides is always the coarser. So it's a dead easy way to remember it. They're all different colours actually all the way through, so it's easy to follow. You'll not get lost. Okay, so To be honest with you, I'm not looking for a burnout on that. This is these are honing stones. This is probably 2,000, 4,000 grit or somewhere along them lines. I'm not looking for a burnout. This is just purely for sharpening and making the edge polish. It's polish the edge up and get it sharp. That's all this is for. So I'll try to spend an even amount of time on either side. And this does feel like a harder stone. You can it's literally just the knife going across the top of it. This actually, like I know, this does remind me of a really hard stone. The Arkansas maybe stone that I've used. I've only ever used it once, but that's what I'm getting. That's the sort of feedback I'm getting on it. That was quite a while ago, so I don't even know if my memory's holding that out right, but oh, it's a lovely feeling. Really nice feeling. This is, I could quite happily just switch off and not speak to you and forget I'm videoing. I really just enjoy this so much. This side of the hobby for me is just being able to get a knife sharp. And I'll often let knives go blunt, you know, and keep using them and over till they go blunt so that I can do a good sharpening. So you'll not always go into my box and find all my knives are sharp. There's ones I just use and use and use, and then I'll do a sharpening. Oh. And again, I'm just trying to keep that angle consistent all the time. And when you're tilting up to get your angle, you can feel it cutting across. It's like trying to take a slice off the top of a bit of cheese. You're really just trying to find that, so there's just getting to that bite mark. You don't want it to dig in too thick, but you just want it to be right on the edge of doing that. So I'll finish now. Probably, I know I should do set numbers, but I keep saying I know I should do. People tell you, do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I don't tend to do that. That's counting. That's not in an Irishman's nature to count. I wasn't brought up to count like that. Do you know, I don't even know how I got the sound on this video. You could have just been watching 30 minutes of complete and utter quietness with an idiot sitting in front of a camera. So there we go. That's the first of the striations are still quite coarse. I'll have to say they're still quite coarse. Now that's not bothering me. And like I said in the beginning, I'm not after some shiny piece of just metal. I want a shiny piece of metal that cuts, and the mirror finish is not my goal, but it is starting to, you're starting to see it. I mean, you could spend more time, and I would normally spend a bit more time if I want that mirror edge. So now that's really starting to bite home. Have we got just it's definitely, oh, Stephen. So I'm going to do that again. There you go. And at any stage, can I tell you, when you're hand sharpening, at any stage you can blunt your knife. by just being careless and digging in too much or pulling across and lifting your arm too high. And we all do that, and you just have to go back to the stone before and restart again, because there is no other way of doing it. You know, if you want to do it properly, there is no other way. It's just go back to the stone before. Sometimes you have to go back to the beginning if you have a bad enough. That wasn't great. Now, the other thing with hand sharpening that I find is you end up with a bit of a concave edge rather than a flat grind, because you're moving, your hand isn't as still as you got in a fixed blade system. So over time you end up with a concave. Don't worry about that. To me, that's a better cutting edge. I like that cutting edge. I do it on purpose sometimes, where I'll just move my hand as I'm doing it. I'll move it back and forwards and back to get around it, not around it, rather than just straight up and down. It buffs out a wee bit and you get that really lovely. It's used more probably on bushcraft knives, because it gives you, you don't really want that. You're going into wood and you don't need that, you know, really thin edge. You just want a good hard working edge. It's going to last a lot of time in wood. I could be talking through my backside, you know. And the nice thing is, half of you won't know. I do talk some twaddle. Now I'm starting to see the edge coming. But they are quite coarse now, I have to say. That's better. That's better. Much nicer. Oh, so much pluck about me. So, take the pluck off that, and we'll go to the final stone. I hear you say, wonderful, Paddy, get it done. Here's the final stone, a bit of water on. As you can see, these are sort of splash and go, so they're not hard to look after, they're not hard to keep. And now we're going to polish again. Find your edge and just hold on to it. Let the stones do the work. You'll have noticed in my side, I'm not jabbing this in there. There's no pressure on my arms. I'm completely relaxed. And that's why you can keep going, because you're completely relaxed. You're just moving a wee knife back and forward like that. It's not strenuous or hard or tiring. It's just, it just gives me an immense amount of pleasure just to sit here and knowing all I'm doing is rubbing a little bit of metal back and across an artificially made diamond stone, and I'm going to get a razor's edge at the end of it. And that's all I want, a nice sharp knife that I can go and do a pensioner's day's work, which is usually cut up 1 box or 2 boxes of cornflakes, because we eat an awful lot of that because we're lazy and can't be bothered cooking a lot. Or cutting them really hard plastic covers of your steak box. See, this knife I'm going to be using to make a spoon, which is why I wanted it to resharpen it. I don't need a 15-degree edge to do a wooden spoon. I'm happier with a 20-degree edge. And it gives me, oh, didn't I? I don't know whether you heard that. I cut into the stone there. I'm just hoping I haven't undone all my work, because that's just me not. When you're doing it on your own, you don't talk. Well, I talk to myself sometimes, but it doesn't put me off. I have to be conscious of what I'm saying to you lot. Well, I hope where you are, it's you're on the upward ride. We still haven't reached the peak of the bad times to come. I think we're still another week and a half, 2 weeks away from that really bad stage where Italy's at the minute. But we're getting there. We're over 1,000 deaths now in the UK. Northern Ireland's not quite as high a percentage. than the rest of the UK at the moment. I believe, I'm only going through numbers, but I believe we're not just as high. But it's coming, and that's for sure. It's not just going to go away. And again, I'd just like to thank the NHS staff over here, all around the world, all the nurses and doctors around the world. They're just amazing people who give so much of their time. And look, down to the bin men, the refuge collectors, whatever you call them, wherever you are, the shop assistants, anybody out there, the ones that works in chemists. I don't want to leave anybody out. If you're working and you're in one of the essential services, or what the government deem as essential services, the off licenses, not so much. I don't care about you, to be perfectly honest. But I don't see why an off license needs to be open. I'd rather have my wits about me at this time than having a lot of drink in me. So, but then again, I'm a recovered alcoholic, I would say that anyway. But there we go. But thank you to everybody who's given a service and who's doing, even some of the breweries over here have turned to making the antiseptic hand wash and things like that. So bravo to them, well done. Now, let's just have a wee look and see where we are on the, does this knife look pretty? Does this knife look pretty? Well, do you want to know something? It is definitely getting there. It is definitely getting there. Let's just have a look how she's cutting. That is pretty. Oh, that is pretty good. There is still a little bit of a burr at the end of my knife. So, what do you do for a burr when you've done your sharpening? I can keep going on that and I'll probably get it because that's smooth enough. That is like glass on top. It is gorgeous, a lovely feeling. I want to play with that. What I've got is a strop because it's time. Let's do time. So I've dried my knife off and I'm going to give it a quick strop because I want to get that final, I can feel a little burr all along the edge and I can hear it coming off. Well, I hope I can hear it coming off. That's starting to feel. So I hope I haven't bored you to death. I hope this hasn't... Well, you have nothing better to do, so you may as well have watched it. I don't even know how long it is, but there we go. I don't count my strops, I just go till I think it feels nice. Okay, how's that? Is that sharp enough for you? That's sharp enough for me. So, from a completely blunt knife to sharp in whatever time it is taken, you can see that there is a bit of a shine coming on it now. Let me just get this up to the window here. There's a few patches that are maybe being a bit stubborn. Let me just see. I'm just trying to get you a good angle where you can see. You can see that it's starting to come. There is a nice polish. It's not super polished. I haven't spent enough time on the stones to get that super polish. There you are, you can see it's a wee bit sticky still. But when I get the light right, look, there is a polish along that edge. That is a sharp knife. Is it a super high polish knife? No, it's not. I haven't spent enough time. I've been doing a video for these people. So, there we go. That's what the edge looks like. It looks much better than what I'm showing you, but it is perfectly serviceable, perfectly sharp. And I'm going to go and cut a block of wood with it. Does it need to look pretty? No, it's a knife. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was of some interest. I hope that the video, I'm going to go and watch it back now to see what it's like, but I've enjoyed doing it. I've enjoyed explaining it. I hope I've explained it simply enough for those who are just starting. Not that I think you're stupid, just for those that are just starting and maybe have a video they can learn. It's not super shiny, but Do you know, it's all right. It'll do rightly and it'll cut. All the very best. Paddy's away. Thank you so much for watching. That cup of tea is going to get hammered. Bye now.